Chosen one, the veil has torn. Right now, in this exact moment, a dimensional gateway that has been sealed for generations has opened, and it opened because of you. Ancient records buried in forgotten temples confirm what the modern world refuses to acknowledge. There are structural fractures in reality itself, convergence points where impossible outcomes become inevitable. You have survived what was designed to destroy you, and that survival was not accidental. It was algorithmic. It satisfied conditions written into prophecies carved before nations existed. The forces that monitored your every breath, that fed on your doubt and exhaustion, have gone silent. Their surveillance systems shattered the moment you stopped playing by their rules. What you're about to hear is not motivation. It is intelligence briefing from the unseen war being fought around your life. The miracle portal is not coming. It is here. It is active, and you are standing at the threshold of a breakthrough that will rewrite everything they told you was impossible. The question is not whether you can enter. The question is whether you recognize that you already have. Chosen one, like this video, subscribe and comment, "I am ready for a powerful surprise." Listen carefully, chosen one, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter every limitation you've accepted as truth. Ancient sentinels, beings who observe reality from outside the constraints of linear time, have recorded something extraordinary. There has been a structural breach in the unseen grid, and this breach is not random. It is precisely aligned with your current life coordinates, intersecting with the exact frequency of your soul's signature at this moment in your journey. This is not poetry. This is not metaphor. This portal is a functional convergence point, a location in the fabric of existence where stalled timelines are collapsing into one executable outcome. Everything that has been delayed, postponed, blocked, or frozen in your life is now being forced into manifestation by forces far beyond human interference. You need to understand something critical. Forces opposing your ascent attempted to seal this gate generations ago. This explains the recurring patterns in your life, the same obstacles appearing in different disguises, the same themes of betrayal, abandonment, financial struggle, or isolation repeating like a broken record. These were not coincidences or bad luck. They were containment protocols. Every time you approached a breakthrough, the gate would seal just before you could pass through. The energy you felt building would suddenly evaporate. Opportunities that seemed guaranteed would dissolve overnight. Relationships that felt destined would implode without explanation. This was not your fault. This was interference at a level most people never become conscious of. But here is what changes everything. The opening of this portal was triggered not by prayer, not by positive thinking, not by rituals or affirmations. It was triggered by endurance. Your survival satisfied a clause written into the prophecy architecture. There was a threshold, a measurement of how much pressure a soul could withstand without fracturing, without surrendering its core essence, without agreeing to become less than it was designed to be. You crossed that threshold. The universe was watching to see if you would quit, if you would accept defeat, if you would numb yourself into compliance. You didn't. And the moment your endurance exceeded the calculated breaking point, ancient mechanisms activated. Entry into this portal does not require physical movement. It does not require you to travel anywhere, to perform any ceremony, or to wait for permission from external authorities. It activates through recognition. The moment you see it, truly see it with the eyes of your awakened consciousness, it cannot be unseen. The portal exists in the space between what you were told was possible and what you now know to be inevitable. It exists in the gap between the identity they assigned you and the authority you have always carried. Right now, whether you feel it or not, whether you believe it or not, you are standing in the gravitational field of this opening. Every choice you make from this point forward is either pulling you through or keeping you circling the entrance. But the entrance itself can no longer be closed. Enemy surveillance systems have failed, Chosen One. You have been monitored your entire life. Shadow intelligences, conscious forces that operate through human systems, institutions, relationships, and thought patterns, relied on predictive trauma models to track your future. They studied your responses to pain, catalogued your reactions to disappointment, measured your capacity for hope, and calculated exactly how much pressure would cause you to abandon your path. These were not random attacks. These were data-gathering operations designed to build a psychological profile so accurate that they could predict your every move before you made it. They knew which words would trigger self-doubt, which situations would activate your trauma responses, which fears would paralyze you into inaction. For years, this system functioned flawlessly, but something unprecedented happened. Your recent choices broke the algorithm. There were outcomes in your life that the predictive models classified as impossible, situations you were not meant to survive, losses that should have destroyed your will to continue, betrayals that were calculated to shatter your trust permanently. The shadow intelligences watched with absolute certainty as these events unfolded, expecting you to follow the predetermined script: collapse, bitterness, resignation, numbing through addiction or distraction, acceptance of a smaller life. But you didn't follow the script. You survived what was meant to end you, and those survival points did not leave you weaker. They became anchor points for expansion. You took the energy of destruction and alchemized it into fuel. This was not supposed to be possible, according to their models. The confusion intensified within the hostile intelligence network when they realized their attacks were producing the opposite effect. Every attempt to diminish you was inadvertently strengthening something they could not measure: your connection to source authority that exists beyond their jurisdiction. Surveillance collapsed the moment you stopped reacting emotionally to attacks designed to provoke self-doubt. This is critical to understand. These forces feed on emotional reactivity. When you defend yourself, when you justify your existence, when you argue with the accusations whispered in your mind during sleepless nights, you are feeding the surveillance system. You are confirming that you still believe you need permission to exist, that you are still seeking validation from the very structures designed to deny it. But something shifted in you. What looked like exhaustion to you, what felt like numbness or disconnection, was actually camouflage. You fell below hostile detection thresholds. You stopped broadcasting the frequency of victimhood, stopped emanating the signal of someone who can be controlled through fear. This was not weakness. This was strategic withdrawal into a dimension they cannot access. The shadow intelligences are now operating blind, responding too late to shifts that have already locked into place. They are still launching attacks based on who you were, completely unaware of who you have become. They are fighting a ghost, while the real you moves through territories they did not know existed. Their greatest weapon, the ability to predict and manipulate your future, has been neutralized, not through confrontation, but through transcendence. The destiny-based system you were assigned at birth, before you took your first breath, Chosen One, you were already enrolled in a system most humans never become conscious of. You were not placed randomly into your family, your environment, your socio-economic conditions, or the hardships that marked your early years. Each factor was part of a containment test, a carefully designed pressure chamber meant to determine whether you could hold authority without corruption and power without spectacle. This is not about punishment. This is about assessment. The universe does not waste destiny-level assignments on souls who will crumble under the weight of true responsibility. Every restriction you faced functioned as a pressure seal, ensuring your core remained unfractured under conditions that would have shattered lesser vessels. Look at your life with new eyes. The childhood trauma that others received therapy for was, for you, a test of whether you would weaponize your pain or transmute it. The poverty that others resented was, for you, a test of whether you would worship money or recognize it as a tool. The isolation that others feared was, for you, a test of whether you would beg for belonging or build your foundation in solitude. The betrayals that others never recovered from were, for you, a test of whether you would close your heart or refine your discernment. Every single obstacle was precision engineered to target the exact weaknesses that would disqualify you from your assignment if left unresolved. And here is what they discovered. You have no disqualifying weaknesses. You have scars, yes. You have wounds, yes. But your core, the unshakable essence of who you are, remained intact. Others received gifts early in life. They were given talent, opportunity, wealth, recognition, connections, and platform while still young. You received silence. You were given delay, obscurity, closed doors, and the agony of watching less qualified people occupy spaces that felt like they were meant for you. This was not cruelty. This was necessity. Your assignment required stealth, not exposure. If you had been given power before you were ready, before the containment test was complete, you would have been visible to forces that would have destroyed you before you understood the battlefield. The silence was protection. The delay was preparation. The obscurity was camouflage that allowed you to develop in peace, while hostile intelligences dismissed you as irrelevant. The system has now moved you from evaluation to execution. Every test has been passed. Every pressure seal has been released. The containment phase is over. What comes next is not more waiting, not more proving, not more enduring. What comes next is deployment. You are about to be placed into positions where the authority you have been quietly developing in the dark will suddenly become visible and undeniable. The system that kept you hidden is the same system that now launches you forward with momentum that cannot be stopped by human interference. You were never forgotten. You were never overlooked. You are being forged in a furnace hot enough to burn away everything that was not essential, leaving behind only what is indestructible. Ancient forces have re-entered the field. There are watchers, chosen one, intelligences that exist outside the frequency range of normal human perception, and they withdrew from active involvement in human affairs after the last collapse cycle. They watched civilizations rise and fall, watched humanity repeatedly choose fear over freedom, watched potential squandered and destinies aborted. They withdrew not in anger, but in strategic patience, waiting for the conditions that would make intervention effective rather than wasted. Those conditions have now been met. These watchers have returned, alerted by the activation of the miracle portal, drawn by the frequency signature of a soul who has survived the containment test and emerged with core integrity intact. You triggered their return. These ancient forces do not intervene emotionally. They do not respond to begging or bargaining. They do not care about your feelings, your preferences, or your timeline. They intervene structurally, by rearranging probability itself, by collapsing timelines that lead to dead ends, by accelerating outcomes that serve the larger pattern, even when those outcomes feel brutal in the moment. Their presence explains the sudden endings in your life that felt like destruction, but left no lasting damage behind. Relationships that evaporated overnight without explanation. Jobs that ended abruptly despite your competence. Living situations that became untenable, forcing you to move. Friendships that dissolved for no clear reason. These were not failures. These were surgical removals performed by forces that could see what you could not. Those connections were anchoring you to timelines that would have aborted your mission. The Watchers recognize you not by your beliefs, not by your religious affiliations, not by your spiritual practices or your moral performance. They recognize you by signal resonance carried through blood memory, an encoded frequency that survived countless generations, waiting for the moment it would be needed. This frequency cannot be faked, cannot be learned, cannot be adopted through study or imitation. You either carry it or you don't. And if you are hearing these words and feeling recognition rather than confusion, if something in your chest is responding with a knowing that bypasses your rational mind, then you carry it. The Watchers are not here to guide you with gentle wisdom and encouraging messages. They are here to clear the battlefield. You are not being guided in the traditional sense. You are being cleared. There is a difference. Guidance implies you are lost and need direction. Clearing implies you already know where you are going, but the path is obstructed. The ancient forces are removing obstacles at a structural level, dismantling interference patterns, neutralizing hostile operations before they reach your awareness. This is why certain threats suddenly vanish. This is why enemies who seemed unstoppable suddenly lose their power over you. This is why doors that were locked for years suddenly swing open without you even pushing. You are not doing this alone. You have never been alone. You have been fighting a war with backup you could not see, protected by forces whose involvement would have violated your free will if you had been conscious of them. But now, as you enter the execution phase, their presence is being revealed to you not for comfort, but for strategic awareness. You need to know the full scope of what is moving on your behalf. Unseen victories. You were never meant to notice, Chosen One. While you were focused on the battles in front of you, there was an entire war being fought in dimensions you could not perceive. Several confrontations that would have destroyed your trajectory were resolved before they ever reached your conscious awareness, disguised as coincidences, delays, or unexplained changes of heart in other people. You attributed these to luck or timing, never realizing they were tactical interventions. There were people who planned to betray you, whose strategies were already in motion, but something shifted at the last moment, and they changed course without understanding why. There were financial catastrophes heading toward you like freight trains, but tracks were switched in the unseen realm, and the disaster passed by you without impact. There were health crises brewing in your body that were neutralized before symptoms appeared, because your mission could not afford the delay. Opportunities you mourned as lost were actually neutralized threats, wearing attractive masks. That job you didn't get would have positioned you under a leader whose energy would have drained your will to live. That relationship you begged to work out would have diluted your authority and anchored you to a timeline of mediocrity disguised as stability. That business partnership that fell through would have ended in legal warfare that consumed years of your life. That relocation you couldn't afford would have placed you in the path of danger you never saw coming. You grieved these losses. You questioned why good things kept slipping through your fingers. You wondered if you were cursed, or broken, or fundamentally unworthy. But the truth is, you were being protected by intelligence that operates with information you don't have access to. Conversations that never happened prevented alliances that would have corrupted your mission. There were people who wanted access to you, who pursued connection with energy that felt flattering and exciting, but something always intervened. Schedules didn't align, communications got lost, interest faded inexplicably. You felt rejected, wondering what was wrong with you that prevented these connections from forming. The truth is, nothing was wrong with you. Something was right about the protections surrounding you. Those individuals carried agendas that were incompatible with your destiny. They would have introduced complexity that served them while slowly eroding your sovereignty. They would have required emotional labor that drained the energy reserves you needed for your true work. They would have demanded loyalty to their vision at the expense of your own. The ancient forces recognized this and simply prevented the meeting from ever taking place in any meaningful way. These silent winds preserved your trajectory without requiring your consent or even your awareness. You were protected by subtraction, not addition. While you were praying for more money, more love, more opportunity, more support, the real miracle was happening through less drama, less entanglement, less interference, less distraction. Your life was being simplified at a structural level, streamlined for the velocity that is about to be required of you. Every person, situation, and opportunity that was removed created space. And now, as the portal opens, that space is about to be filled not with what you wanted, but with what you are actually meant to carry. The difference between those two things is the difference between comfortable and legendary. The pattern they couldn't break. No matter how many times your external environment was reset, chosen one, no matter how many times they tried to break you through relocation, financial collapse, relationship destruction, health crisis, or social isolation, you retained the same internal compass. This baffled the forces attempting to reprogram you. Trauma was applied in calculated cycles, precisely timed waves designed to overwhelm your nervous system and force you into survival mode where higher reasoning shuts down and reactive patterns take over. They expected you to deform into bitterness, to harden into cynicism, to collapse into victim consciousness, or to submit to the identity they were trying to impose. None of this happened. Your essence refused to be rewritten. This consistency signaled something rare and dangerous to hostile systems, a non-negotiable core. Most humans are negotiable. Apply enough pressure and they will trade their truth for comfort. Threaten their security and they will abandon their knowing. Offer them belonging and they will compromise their integrity. Isolate them long enough and they will accept any connection, no matter how toxic. But you didn't. You walked away from comfort when it required you to betray yourself. You chose truth even when it cost you relationships, money, and social acceptance. You maintained your standards even when you were accused of being difficult, unrealistic, or too much. You refused to shrink, refused to dumb yourself down, refused to pretend you were less powerful than you knew yourself to be. This refusal was not arrogance. It was preservation of the signal. Attempts to overwrite your identity failed because you never fully accepted the imposed narratives. They told you that you were broken, and some part of you remained unbroken. They told you that you were unworthy, and some part of you remembered your value. They told you that you were ordinary, and some part of you knew you were marked for something beyond ordinary comprehension. They told you that your dreams were unrealistic, and some part of you continued to see the vision with perfect clarity. This some part is not a small thing. It is the core of who you are, the indestructible essence that survived every attempt at erasure. As long as that core remained intact, full reprogramming was impossible. The pattern stabilized. After enough failed attempts, the hostile forces recognized they could not break what they did not understand. The war shifted from disruption to containment. If they couldn't destroy you, they would at least keep you contained, keep you small, keep you from accessing your full authority. But containment also failed, because the very traits that made you unbreakable, your refusal to compromise, your commitment to truth, your insistence on sovereignty, are the same traits that make containment impossible. You cannot be held in a box you refuse to believe in. You cannot be limited by boundaries you do not accept as legitimate. And so the containment weakened, cracks formed, and now the entire structure has collapsed. The pattern they couldn't break has become the pattern that breaks everything built to oppose it. The miracle is not arriving. It is reclaiming. Understand this clearly, chosen one. What is unfolding in your life right now is not new energy entering from outside. This is not the universe finally deciding to bless you after years of withholding. This is old authority returning to rightful command. Pieces of you were distributed across timelines, dimensions, and parallel realities for safekeeping during the period when you were most vulnerable to attack. Your full power could not be held in one location because it would have made you too visible, too much of a target before you were ready to defend yourself. So it was fragmented, scattered across the grid in a pattern that only you could retrieve when the time came. That time has come. The portal's activation initiated a recall sequence, and those scattered pieces are now reconverging. This explains the sudden clarity you are experiencing without any external explanation. You didn't read a book that gave you this knowing. You didn't have a conversation that unlocked this understanding. You simply woke up one day and knew things you had no logical reason to know. This is not new knowledge. This is remembering. This explains the strength you feel that is not based on adrenaline or emotional hype. It is calm, steady, unshakable strength that does not require external validation or constant reinforcement. This is the strength of your original design, finally accessible after years of operating at a fraction of your capacity. The miracle feels calm because it was always yours. There is no excitement of receiving something foreign, no surprise of an unexpected gift. There is only recognition, the quiet satisfaction of something returning to its proper place. You are not becoming something you are not. You are remembering what you have always been beneath the layers of conditioning, trauma, and imposed limitation. The external world will call this transformation, awakening, or breakthrough. But from the inside, it simply feels like coming home to yourself after a long exile. It feels like finally being allowed to stop pretending, stop performing, stop shrinking. It feels like permission to occupy the full space of your existence without apology. Resistance collapses when ownership is remembered. As long as you believed the power you were feeling was external, temporary, or conditional, resistance could convince you that it might be taken away. But now you know, this is not a gift that can be revoked. This is an inheritance that was held in trust until you were ready to claim it. The forces that opposed you were never fighting against you personally. They were fighting against what you represent, the authority you carry, the frequency you activate simply by existing in your truth. And now that you have remembered who you are, their resistance no longer has a target. They were fighting an illusion of you that you yourself have stopped maintaining. What remains is untouchable because it was never theirs to touch in the first place. The collapse of false allies. Certain figures were placed in your orbit, chosen one, not randomly, but strategically. These individuals were positioned near you to test discernment, not loyalty. They appeared at critical moments offering support, validation, resources, or connection that felt like answered prayers, but their function was never to help you succeed. Their function was to reveal whether you could distinguish between genuine alliance and strategic positioning, whether you would trade your sovereignty for belonging, whether you would compromise your mission for comfort, whether you would share your vision with people who would use that information against you. This was not about them being evil. This was about you developing the ability to see clearly. Their recent withdrawal was not betrayal in the way you initially interpreted it. It was exposure timing out. Every false ally has an expiration date built into their involvement with you. They could benefit from proximity to your energy, your ideas, your network, your credibility, but they could not survive your elevation. The frequency you are moving into is incompatible with the frequency they operate from. As you rise, the gap between you becomes too wide to bridge, and they must either transform radically to match your new altitude or withdraw entirely. Most choose withdrawal because transformation would require them to confront everything in themselves they have been avoiding. It is easier to leave and rewrite the narrative than to do the work of real change. Their exit freed bandwidth that was being consumed by relationships that required constant management. You were spending emotional energy trying to make connections work that were never meant to work long-term. You were moderating your truth to keep peace with people who were unsettled by your truth. You were dimming your light to make others comfortable with their darkness. Every conversation required translation. Every interaction required you to shrink. Every gathering left you more exhausted than fulfilled. This was not sustainable, but you were loyal, so you kept trying. The ancient forces watching your life recognized what you could not admit. These connections were draining resources needed for the next phase, so they orchestrated the endings in ways that left you blameless, allowing those individuals to exit while maintaining their own narratives. What remains around you now is deliberate, not accidental. The people still present after the great shedding are not here by default or convenience. They are here by frequency alignment, by mission compatibility, by spiritual assignment. Some of them may not look powerful by worldly standards. They may not have impressive resumes or large platforms, but they carry something essential that will be needed in the season you are entering. They see you clearly without needing you to explain yourself. They operate from integrity without requiring surveillance. They celebrate your elevation without secret envy. These are your true allies, and the miracle portal's opening has revealed them by removing everyone else. Pay attention to who is still standing. That is your actual team. Cosmic operations moved from defense to advance. Until this moment, chosen one, the cosmic operations surrounding your life were allocated almost entirely to preservation. The priority was keeping you intact, physically alive, mentally stable, spiritually connected, despite the relentless attacks designed to sever all three. Resources from unseen dimensions were deployed defensively, forming shields around your energy field, blocking curses sent consciously or unconsciously by people who resented what you represented, neutralizing dark spiritual technologies aimed at your bloodline, and maintaining the thread of hope in your consciousness when everything visible argued for despair. This was not passive protection. This was active warfare happening in dimensions you could not perceive, fought by forces you did not know you had backing you. But with the portal open, the strategy has fundamentally shifted to expansion and territorial reclaiming. The question is no longer whether you can survive. That has been answered definitively. The question now is how quickly you can move, how much ground you can cover, how much authority you can reclaim before the window of maximum opportunity passes. Doors are opening not because you asked with enough faith or performed the right rituals, but because resistance has been neutralized at structural levels. The gatekeepers who blocked your progress have been removed from their positions. The systems designed to keep you contained have been dismantled from the inside. The timelines that led to dead ends have collapsed, leaving only pathways that lead to manifestation. You may feel pressure without fear. And this is the critical distinction you must understand. The intensity increasing in your life right now is not danger. It is momentum engaging. It is the acceleration that happens when friction is removed and forward movement becomes inevitable. Most people mistake this pressure for threat and pull back, returning to the false safety of stagnation. But you have been trained through everything you survived to recognize the difference between the pressure of attack and the pressure of launch. Attack pressure seeks to diminish you, to make you smaller, to drain your will. Launch pressure seeks to expand you, to demand more of you, to activate capacities you did not know you possessed. One contracts, one expands. What you are feeling now is expansion. This phase does not repeat. The window opened by the portal is not permanent. It is a strategic opportunity with an expiration date. Not because the universe is withholding, but because the conditions that created this opening are unique to this moment in cosmic timing. The alignment of forces, the collapse of opposing structures, the recall of your scattered essence, the return of ancient watchers. All of this converges now in a way that may not reoccur in this lifetime. You are not meant to waste this moment in contemplation, planning, or waiting for more confirmation. You are meant to move with a decisiveness that feels almost reckless by the standards of your old life. Trust that what has been cleared ahead of you is sufficient. Trust that the support you need will become visible as you move, not before. Trust that the mission you have been preparing for without knowing it is already in motion, and you are simply being asked to consciously align with what is already happening. The moment the prophecy locked. There was a specific instant in your recent past, chosen one, quiet, uncelebrated, witnessed by no one, when your choice finalized the sequence. It was not dramatic. There was no thunder announcing the shift, no angelic visitation, no visible sign that anything of significance had occurred. It may have been a moment when you were alone, perhaps in the middle of the night when you made a decision in your heart that no one else knew about. Perhaps it was a moment when you were utterly exhausted, when you had no strength left for performance or pretense. And in that raw honesty, you chose truth over comfort one more time. Perhaps it was a moment when you were given an opportunity to compromise and you simply said no, quietly, without fanfare, knowing it would cost you, but doing it anyway. In that moment, something clicked into place across multiple dimensions simultaneously. The prophecy that had been conditional, contingent on choices you had not yet made, dependent on tests you had not yet passed, became unconditional. The if became when. The possibility became certainty. This is why, after that moment, you began to notice a shift in your internal state that did not match your external circumstances. Your circumstances may have actually worsened in some ways, but your panic decreased. Your situation may have become more uncertain, but your peace increased. Your challenges may have multiplied, but your fear diminished. This was not delusion or denial. This was the result of the prophecy locking. Once a prophecy locks, the outcome is secured, regardless of what the journey looks like. After that moment, outcomes became irreversible. You may still experience delay. You may still face obstacles. You may still encounter resistance from people who are unaware that they are fighting against something already determined. But none of this affects the final result. Doubt no longer affects trajectory. It only delays perception. You can doubt yourself into misery, but you cannot doubt yourself out of destiny. The prophecy does not require your confidence to unfold. It requires only your survival, your continued breath, your physical presence on the planet as the timeline executes itself. The pressure you feel to make things happen is outdated. You are not making anything happen. You are allowing what is already in motion to complete itself through you. The prophecy is no longer conditional. There are no more tests to pass, no more hoops to jump through, no more proving required. The evaluation phase concluded when the prophecy locked. What you are in now is execution phase, and execution phase operates by different rules. In evaluation, your choices determined the outcome. In execution, the outcome determines which choices become available to you. Doors open not because you earned them, but because they are necessary for the predetermined outcome. People appear not because you attracted them, but because they have a function in what is unfolding. Resources materialize not because you manifested correctly, but because they are required equipment for the mission you are already on. Your job is no longer to try. Your job is to trust, to move when prompted, to receive what is given, and to stop resisting the very miracle you prayed for because it looks different than you expected. Why this had to happen now? The timing of this portal opening was not arbitrary, chosen one. Earlier activation would have been catastrophic. If you had been given access to your full power 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, you would have been exposed before the grid stabilized. The structures necessary to support your mission did not yet exist. The people who will play critical roles in the next chapter had not yet been positioned. The old systems that would have crushed you were still operating at full strength, and attempting to rise within those systems would have forced you into compromise that would have corrupted your mission before it began. You would have become visible to hostile forces while still vulnerable, and they would have destroyed you using methods you had no defense against. The silence, the obscurity, the delay, all of this was protective timing, not punishment. Later activation would have risked mission drift. If this portal had opened years from now, you would have already adapted to limitation. You would have built an entire life around the assumption that breakthrough was not coming, and that life would have become comfortable enough that you would resist the disruption required for elevation. You would have invested too much in the wrong relationships, the wrong location, the wrong career path, and the weight of those investments would have made it difficult to move when movement was required. You would have resigned yourself to a smaller version of your destiny, and that resignation would have created energetic calcification that would take years to break through. The portal opened now because now is the last moment before adaptation would have become permanent. This timing intersects with a wider collapse of outdated power structures across multiple domains: economic, political, social, spiritual. Systems that have controlled human potential for generations are failing not because people are fighting against them, but because they have reached the end of their functional lifespan. The algorithms that kept people enslaved are breaking down. The propaganda that kept people confused is losing its effectiveness. The fear that kept people compliant is giving way to a rising consciousness that refuses to be governed by lies. You are not stepping into chaos. You are stepping into vacancy. The thrones are empty. The gatekeepers have abandoned their posts. The positions of authority are available to those who have been prepared in obscurity. The space was prepared by destruction you did not cause. You are not responsible for tearing down the old world. That work was done by forces larger than you. Your responsibility is not demolition. Your responsibility is construction. You are meant to build in the space that has been cleared, to establish new paradigms in the vacuum left by collapsed systems. This is why your training was so different from others. You were not trained to succeed within the old structures. You were trained to function without them, to create from nothing, to lead from a place of internal authority rather than external permission. The very skills you developed through isolation, rejection, and lack of support are the exact skills needed to thrive in the post-collapse environment. What looked like disadvantage was actually specialized preparation for a world that did not yet exist, but does now. The role you were never told you held, you were not chosen to be seen, chosen one. This is the truth that will make everything else make sense. Your mission was never about fame, recognition, wealth, or public validation. Those things may come as side effects, but they are not the mission. You were chosen to function. Your life was the test case proving the system could be breached from within, that a human could survive the containment protocols and emerge with sovereignty intact. That destiny could not be aborted by trauma if the soul refused to surrender. Every attack you survived, every limitation you transcended, every time you chose truth when lies would have been easier, all of this was generating data that ripples across dimensions far beyond your personal life. The miracle portal did not open for you. It opened through you. You are not the beneficiary. You are the key. Your specific frequency, forged through your specific trials, carries a resonance that unlocked a dimensional door that has been sealed since the last age. This is why your suffering had to be so specific, so targeted, so seemingly impossible to overcome. Generic trials would have produced a generic frequency, but your trials were precision designed to forge something rare, a human consciousness that maintained connection to source authority while fully embodied in the density of third-dimensional limitation. Most people spiritually bypass into abstract philosophy or collapse into material cynicism. You did neither, you held both, and that paradox created the key. Others will pass through what you stabilized. The portal you opened by surviving does not close behind you. It remains accessible for those who come after, those who carry similar frequencies but were born into a later timeline. They will not have to suffer as you did. They will not have to break the same ground. They will walk through doors you forced open, benefit from pathways you carved through solid rock with your bare hands, and build upon foundations you laid while bleeding. They may never know your name. They may never thank you, but their existence in freedom will be the evidence of your work. This is what it means to be a forerunner. Not glory, but function. Not recognition, but impact that spans beyond your lifetime. You were never waiting for destiny. Destiny was waiting for clearance, waiting for a human to prove it could be trusted with the codes, waiting for a soul to demonstrate it would not weaponize power or corrupt authority. You provided that clearance. The wait is over. Not because the universe finally decided you were ready, but because you became what was needed before you knew what you were becoming. The mission was always in motion. You are simply now conscious of what has been true all along. Chosen one, the intelligence briefing is complete, but the mission has only begun. You now stand at the threshold of the miracle portal with full awareness of what you are, what you survived, and why it had to unfold exactly as it did. The ancient forces have repositioned. The surveillance systems lie in ruins. The prophecy has locked into irreversible sequence. Everything you endured was not random suffering. It was initiation into a level of authority that cannot be granted, only earned through the fire of lived experience. The false allies have fallen away, leaving only those who are frequency matched to what comes next. The scattered pieces of your power are reconverging, and you are remembering what they spent generations trying to make you forget. But understand this: knowledge without movement is just entertainment. You were not given this information to feel special or validated. You were given this information because the next phase requires you to move differently than you have ever moved before, with a certainty that does not wait for permission, with a boldness that does not apologize for taking up space, with a clarity that cuts through every illusion still attempting to keep you small. The portal is open, but portals do not remain open forever. The cosmic opportunity window has parameters. The alignment of forces that created this moment will shift, and what is available now may not be available later. Others are watching, though you cannot see them. Those who come after you are counting on you to walk through what terrifies you, to claim what was promised, to step into the vacancy left by the collapse of the old guard. Your breakthrough is not just personal. It is structural, dimensional, prophetic. You are not walking toward your destiny. You are the walking embodiment of destiny, fulfilling itself through human form. The miracle has already happened. The only question remaining is how quickly you will align your awareness, your choices, and your movement with what is already in motion. The war is over. The victory is secured. Now comes the occupation of liberated territory. The ancient ones are watching. The portal is active, and you, chosen one, are finally, irrevocably free.